Ji Ki Fateh. This is Guruka Singh, and I'm broadcasting from home today. SikhNet wants to every day have someone here online where we can join together and have a connection with each other. So today, I'm the person online, and if you're here and joining in, the idea really is to just share with each other what we're going on, what we're going through in our local communities, and how we're all responding to what's happening in the world right now. It's a chance to keep each other company for a little bit, do some Simran together for a little bit, do some kirtan. We're going to have various people hosting at different times, and today I'm the person who is hosting. So welcome to the Facebook live cast. And I thought we would start with just a little Simran together. And if you have comments to put in the live chat stream, we'll address whatever questions you have or things that you'd like to share with everyone. So you may have heard in the background Ajit Kaur's track playing. This is a recording of a very simple kirtan that she did. Satanam Waheguru. And I'm just going to sit and do some Simran here for a little bit while people arrive and tune into the stream. And feel free to join in and just chant with me for a few minutes, and we'll all be in the same frequency together. Waheguru Satnam 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 Vaheguru, 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 Satnam Vaheguru. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. From my home to yours, welcome to the SikhNet livecast. Our idea is that each day someone who is a member of the SikhNet family will be online here on Facebook and we'll be able to share together. So if in the chat, if you just say where you're from and where you are, and I'm here in the United States in New Mexico, not far from the SikhNet office, but our office is closed. And so everyone is working from home. I'm sure where you are, it's pretty much the same thing. For me, it's given a lot of really lovely opportunities. And one of the best opportunities is an opportunity to watch my own mind and to understand how, what I think about and where my thoughts are directed during this time. When we're really involved in the busyness of everyday life and tasks are coming one after the other and everything seems urgent, then it doesn't really give us time to watch our own mind during the day. But even though we're all here doing a full day's work from home, the pace seems very quiet and steady. And my first reaction when this whole thing began to break was thinking of all the people in all the Sangats around the world who I love and who I've spent time with, and basically getting on WhatsApp and getting online and calling everyone and finding out how they're doing and what's happening there locally. So this is our chance to do this together, and I'm looking in the chat. People are here, they're greeting each other, and if you have something you want to share, just put it in the chat and we'll talk about it. The news just came across my desk maybe 10 minutes before we started broadcasting today about what's happening in Afghanistan. And for those of you who haven't seen the news, apparently there have been some attacks in Kabul, and there have been attacks in other places as well, I guess. People have been reaching out and contacting us. So since people have been injured and some people have been killed, it's time really for us to just close our eyes for a moment and tune in and feel those souls who have been injured and who are going through pain right now. People are mobilizing on the ground to help them, but let's send our prayers to the Sangat in Afghanistan. Waheguru Ji, Waheguru Ji. All of this happens in your will, but in our hearts we feel the pain and we feel the presence of our brothers and sisters in Afghanistan. Please send them some succor and the touch of your love and your grace through the hands and voices of those who are near and can help on the ground. And let our love and support be felt as we direct our thoughts towards those families and send them love and blessings at this time. Guruji, bless them with some peace, bless them with whatever their needs are, and bless them with love so that they can heal in this time when so many people are hating. Vaheguru. You know, love and fear is what it's come down to at this point. I guess the question is, where one lives. Does one live in fear or does one live in love? And you can say that fear comes and goes and that sometimes I feel love, sometimes I don't. But when everything is stripped away, when there's no place to stand, where does your consciousness go? Does it go to love or does it go to fear? A long time ago, my spiritual teacher said to me something very simple. He said, take care of others and let God take care of you. And that's really what I'm seeing. I'm seeing so many people reaching out to others to make sure that they have what they need right now and that they're covered, calling to make sure people are not overwhelmed with anxiety. I talked to a friend in UK yesterday, and she had brought other kids over to her house for homeschooling together. It's a chance, I think, for people to do things with their kids that they haven't had the time to do before. Beautiful lessons were being taught yesterday on, Gurmukhi pronunciation, reading, taking turns reading, cooking together, learning how to sew on a button, I believe was one of the lessons yesterday morning. But it's these simple things of how we spend time together and pay attention to each other and listen to each other that bring us that feeling of peace and connection, especially now that we all have to stay indoors. So I'm grateful for Zoom meetings. I'm grateful for Facebook. I'm grateful for all the ways in which we connect to each other. So I've not seen very many people sharing in the chat, just people greeting each other and saying hi. And it's just a blessing to be able to get together. So I'm sitting here and sharing some of the things that I've been going through and that our communication from SikhNet and what we've been doing. But I'm hoping that in the chat you'll share a little bit about what you're doing and where you are and how you've been making your connections. We're putting together new playlists on the Gurbani Media Center. Guruka Singh put together a playlist called Guru Save Me, which is all shabads that are that prayer for salvation and for help. He's putting together some other beautiful playlists today, some special Katha, things that really are comforting to listen to during this time when we're all under pressure. So everyone's heard, I'm sure, all of the information and facts that are going around about the virus. My main source of information has been the New York Times online. Their reporting has been really clean and clear and unopinionated and factual. So I'm hoping that you find sources for information where you are that are not emotional, biased, or scary, but are just factual, because really it's the play of our minds that makes things bigger than they are in real life. It doesn't matter how this all happened or what's behind it. What matters is that it's what's happening, and it's what we're all going through together now. And there's that feeling of, I know that someone else is in the same situation I am, which brings that commonality and helps us to open our hearts to each other. So my prayer is that whatever you're doing, during this time alone, that you're sharing love and caring and making that connection with each other, whether it's your family or whether you're online, as we are. we have a meeting in the morning where everybody in SikhNet gets together in a Zoom room from all around the world, from 3 locations in India, from Canada, the United States, and sometimes from the UK as well. So that all of our staff, who kind of each works on his or her own time wherever they are, we can all log in and touch base with each other, not necessarily to discuss work stuff, but just to listen to each other and understand what each of us is going through. So listening, that's one of the things I've been working on. Listening to each person I call and connect to. Listening to my own mind and how it's responding in this time. And what it wants to do, which is to connect. It just has shifted the emphasis from what I have to do today to who can I speak to today, and who can I sit with today, and who can I check on, today, and make sure they have what they need. Whether it's the neighbor across the street who's complaining that the shelves are empty at the grocery store, and sharing what we have in our house with them. Whether it's the langar, at our Gurdwara here, the langar is actually being prepared, and people can drive over and pick up some langar. If they can't leave their houses, they can bring some containers over and have someone pick up langar and bring it to them at their house. So even though, we're not able to gather the way we normally do, our Sunday Gurdwara will be online and live streamed, as it always is on Sunday, with a kind of a skeleton crew of Gurdwara Sevadars. And we've taken our Kanpat in our community and brought that online, where readers can sign up and read at home, including the Bog ceremony on Saturday, which we're planning to live broadcast as well. So that's kind of how our community here has adapted during these times. And if there's something that SikhNet, that you feel SikhNet can do, or something you'd like to see, or some resources, let us know, and we'll work our best to help. I see in the chat that Meg said that she's in Denver and that they're on total lockdown today. We're not quite on total lockdown here, but someone mentioned to me this morning that, I think it was Darshankar, that the technique that they used in China was to allow one person from every household to go directly to the store and pick up food every 4 days and bring them back to the house. So it wasn't a total lockdown, and they were able to stop new cases by control. There was a map online today showing the level of compliance in all the different states in the United States. And New Mexico is pretty iffy. The orange states were the ones that were not complying very well, and then they had the blue ones of people who were complying well. So the places where the virus broke out very heavily, in Seattle, California, New York, have high levels of compliance, but places in the middle of the country less so. It's a matter of taking responsibility, not just for ourselves, but taking responsibility for each other. And what a beautiful thing. I talked to Chandigarh, I guess, this morning, where Amanpreet Singh is, and I said, how's the air pollution in India? And he looked out the window and laughed, and he said, I can see a blue sky for the first time in days. And it was pretty polluted the last time I was in India. What a lovely thing to be able to not have that diesel in the air and see the blue sky shining through. So, there are lots of really beautiful small blessings that I found during this time. And maybe you can, in the chat, share some of the blessings that you've experienced from being together in a way that we weren't able to be before this pressure came on us from outside. So there are lessons to be learned, I guess, by observing ourselves, our behavior towards ourselves and towards each other, and For me, those lessons have been lessons of just paying really close attention to each other. What are some of the lessons you've been learning? Have you had lessons about your own mind, about your emotions, about what's happening in your family or in your area? If you feel that you want to share in the chat, please do in the live stream, and we can talk about the things that are on your mind. Yeah, Meg said she's calling people too. I think it's really important to just check in with each other a lot more than usual. I know people in the chat haven't said where you are, but although it's around midday here in New Mexico, I've been talking to people evening, morning, every kind of hour of the day, depending on what country they're in. So think back in your life to the people that you have a soul connection with, not just a temporal connection, not just a connection that's bound within time and space, but the connection that, you looked in their eyes and that connection went far beyond what was happening at that moment. Those people you've connected to in that way, that's level of soul connection. Now's the time to reach out, whether it's just a quick text or a phone call or a picture or a loving thought, a how you doing message, just those little things. So that's what I've experienced during this, that my attention has turned away from what I have to do or what I want to do or anything like that towards how's this person doing? How's that person doing? And those moments that we make the connection are really meaningful. So that's what I've been experiencing during this time. Gurmastik is coming back from Tulum. We'll see how his flight goes. I think he's due back here on Friday. And, with us all working from home, each person has the various tasks that they have on their plate, but I'm taking time out for new things. And those all involve connection. We're going to have other people hosting here as well. Be surprised. We're signing up people who volunteered to host some time on Facebook, 6 p.m. in the evening, Mountain Time, our time, at 11 a.m. And they're people who may be located in different spots around the world, but will log in at that time to do some kirtan, to do some Simran, to do Bani together, just to sit and talk and be with each other. So, if no one has anything they'd like to share in the chat, then we'll chant and resume talking a little later on. But this beautiful track by Ajit Kaur has been playing in the background, and if we could have a little space of peace and joy in the middle of this day, let's do it together. So let's chant Satnam Waheguru. I'll turn the music back up again. And after a while, we can reconnect. If something occurs to you while we're chanting that you want to share, just put it in the chat. And after we chant together, we'll go back to the chat and talk about whatever's on your mind. Vaheguru Satnam, 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 Vaheguru. Oh, Vaheguru Satnam 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 Vaheguru. This track is by Ajit Kar, Ajit, and it's just called Satnam Vaheguru. You know, my thoughts are coming back to that bottom line I mentioned earlier. And the bottom line is love or fear. Where do we ground ourselves? I think those of us who spend some time with the Guru and connect to Gurbani, we've grounded ourselves in love, and that's our reference point where we go to. The ability to guide your mind out of fear back into love is something that is learned over time. But one thing that we can do is watch. Watch where your mind goes. Watch when you have thoughts that are panicky or thoughts that are spinning out, where you start with something that is actually happening and then your mind extrapolates all the possible futures, all the things that could happen. Being able to catch that right at the beginning and understanding in that moment that, it's just the play of my mind, and am I going to get on that train and ride it? Am I going to let that thought carry me out, or am I going to bring myself back and take a deep breath and Waheguru? Because, when we act from emotion, when we act from fear, that's when we mess up. It's when we take the time to breathe really deeply, when we take the time to center ourselves before we act, before we speak, when we take the time to tune into our heart brain rather than our head brain and understand all the currents that we're feeling at the moment, and then act from our intuition of what needs to happen right now. What's the thing that needs to be born into this moment? Because, we're not actually doing seva to each other. I mean, who's doing seva? Waheguru is doing seva to Waheguru. God is in you and God is in me. But when is it time for us to use our hands, to do the action? When is it time for us to speak the words? It's those moments when you tune in and you understand which seva has been assigned to you in that moment, what I need to do now, rather than just figuring out things to do. There are things that need to be done in each moment, and just tuning in and getting centered and listening, not listening to anyone, but listening and paying attention in that moment, then we understand what seva we're being called to by the Guru in each moment. And it's not like we have to figure out what to do. You know, you get the message, you kind of, oh, you get a phone call or somebody says this is happening. And you know in that moment, oh, I'm supposed to be there. I'm supposed to be part of that. So my experience has been it's a golden opportunity for me to understand what I've been called to and to listen deeply. So may we all have that blessing, you know, to pay more attention and listen more deeply and not feel compelled by all the stuff we have to do. Yeah, I'm starting to see stuff in the chat. Other people are calling people. And it's really about staying connected. I think it's really hard for people who are home alone. And, you know, that's the reason that we decided to start doing a live broadcast each day. Just a place to connect, to calm down, and to share.